Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And after playing last night on the Midnight Beta and encountering Big Damn, who is the Enhancement Shaman aficionado with tons of games, I managed to yoink his build and steal a bit of his playstyle and actually discover that I may actually love Enhancement Shaman. And Enhancement Shaman is going to be getting even better with this week's reset with some of the changes that are coming forward to it in terms of defense. So we are playing a Stormbringer version of Enhancement Shaman. We pop Heroism, Sundering, and Bloodlust right off the bat with Ascendance, and this is going to give us a huge amount of crank damage just from ranged, and it's going to be proccing Tempests, which are going to zap in for monstrous amounts of damage. It gets you a huge amount of momentum, but it is important to note that Sundering is kind of a cooldown damage modifier, a very significant one with this talent loadout. It's going to give you 15% haste, and it's also going to drop your Totem of Wrath, which is going to give you big crit damage modifiers. So it's a really important utility spell in terms of buffing up your team at critical points. In between that burst, you're just trying to keep Flame Shock up and spamming Storm Strike on the target. We don't need Frost Shock with this build, which is something that I've learned recently. You can just opt for the talents into other portions of the Shaman tree itself. You're going to be applying your snare through Storm Strike and Lightning critical strike spells. This is going to provide you a 60% snare that is a lot more reliable, although not applicable from ranged. We still have Earth Grab Totem to do that for us. As you can see, I'm using that here to root all the targets next to each other. Earth Grab is also a great utility spell to set up your Capacitator Totem. I generally want to be combining those spells together in order to get the highest amount of impact. And we're still just spamming Storm Strike and keeping Flame Shock up and then dumping our Maelstrom whenever we get it. And obviously, when we have Tempest, it's going to hit really hard. So I'm kind of holding my Tempest here, waiting for the shield, and then as soon as it falls, we launch in the Tempest, cranking the Warlock down to about 80% health. We just keep charging in. We use our Sundering to buff up our damage to keep going even further beyond, pushing in on top of the opposing team. And you can see that they're actually starting to rot. I was surprised in this solo shuffle lobby that Enhance actually has quite a bit of synergy with casters and has anti-synergy against them. So in this type of situation, you're going to be very potent. And honestly, right now, Boomkins, Warlocks, Mages, Shadow Priests, they're all looking very good. Whereas things like Warrior and Windwalker, those are starting to fall off. And those are kind of like your main counters for the Enhancement Shaman. So I'm kind of expecting maybe a bit of a meta shift. Here comes that combo again. Earth Grab Totem, Capacitator Totem, locks them in place, allows us to get uptime and really rip in here. We've got Sunder. We'll buff up our Boomy and toss out some big lightning bolts over here onto the Shadow Priest as we switch targets. Enhance in this type of lobby is just to attack whoever is closer, although I think I would ideally want to be on the Warlock. Shadow Priests have a little bit more sustainability than that of Warlocks, and if you catch a Warlock in a bad spot out of range of their port, you can definitely punish them and win games in that position. We'll drop down Healing Stream Totem whenever we're not able to get into range, and we'll use Purge also whenever we're not able to get into range of the target. Healing Stream is just going to provide a little bit of healing, but also damage reduction for yourself. And it's going to be even more damage reduction with the buffs. We'll just keep marching our way towards the Warlock. We have our Heroism. We have our Ascendance. We'll pop that. I see the Druid getting in here and getting cheeky, so we're going to swap over onto the Druid. We land an Interrupt, and we just zap him. We just zap him. Easy clap. Able to take him out. The Thunder God is back. I really prefer the Stormbringer build. I'm hoping that it's not going to be dead on Tuesday. They are nerfing Ascendance, but they didn't nerf the modifiers on Sundering, and that's something that you do not sleep on Sundering, because I think that is the main source of fuel for Enhancement Shaman at the moment. It's just going to be giving you huge damage modifiers as well as towards your team. I'd really like to see them implement something like a Windwalk Totem. I feel like this type of effect for Enhancement would be really nice, and it would provide synergy towards melee that are struggling a lot with the snares that Warlocks have and Mages and Hunters have at the moment, and would enable it like this kind of place in the meta that it doesn't really have at the moment as far as improvements, but that's something I don't think they're likely to iterate on. I think it's just going to be class tuning knob adjustments at this point. So we'll get an Earth Grab Totem on the Warlock here behind the pillar, drop down the Cap Totem, and try and chase him back into it. And this just secures a stun so we can ramp up and get all of our cooldowns going without immediately getting crowd controlled. You may want to drop a Tremor Totem, honestly, against like a Warlock or a Priest whenever you're popping cooldowns, because they have instant fears on very low cooldown, and they'll generally want to pop that. So right here I use Tremor Totem, anticipate the fear, break my own fear immediately so that I can connect as much damage as humanly possible. Dark Harvest is a really important spell on Affliction Warlocks in Midnight. You want to pretty much always shut that down. Aside from that, kicking Unstable Affliction is not a bad idea either, but Dark Harvest is a very big priority. So we just continue tossing in Lightning Bolts. I don't know what's going on with our PvP talent that's supposed to give us instant healing surges. It feels like it's not working. Like you can see right now I'm spending Lightning Bolts and my healing surge stack is at 9. Like normally you'd go to 10 really fast. It actually takes a lot to get to 10 stacks to be able to get like a powerful instant healing surge in these positions. So I don't know really what happened with that, if it's bugged or if this is just intentional, but you'll notice that it can be actually difficult to get the instant healing surges that you may have been able to get prior to this point. We'll just continue zapping here on the Warlock. If we're ever not able to get uptime, drop down a Healing Stream Totem, drop down a Purge, drop down an Earth Grab. You want to be using these spells. This is one thing that made Enhancement Shaman a lot less painful for me than a lot of the other melee like Warrior Windwalker, is that you can do things while you're getting kited and snared like this. I can get Earth Grab totems and triple cap totem stuns and feel really cool in a lot of these positions, and I can buff up my teammates as well as decide if I want to buff up myself. So I really liked that utility element of it. I like the fact that I've got spells I can use from ranged. So if you want to play a melee and not be too absolutely tilted out of your mind with snares and roots, Enhancement Shaman actually looking like a decent pick. We'll use our Gust of Wind here to jump in on top of them. And I'm not going to run around the corner here. I don't want to line of sight, so I'll hit the Shadow Priest instead of the Warlock and then tab back to the Warlock as soon as we can. I see Fears being casted, so I'm kind of getting ready to Tremor Totem, but our Boomy knocks everything, so we'll just keep marching forward. And really, we're playing around that second Heroism, that second Ascendance window, which is coming up in 30 seconds. But it's not like we're doing nothing, right? And this is something that I like about the efforts that they're putting in for PvP in Midnight is these guys are at 50% health. I'm at like 70% health. We're not all at full HP the whole game, and we're not all just kind of like sitting AFK waiting for cooldowns, which I think is a significant improvement. I think that this next week's build, the update, is probably going to be the best iteration of the beta that we've seen so far. And if they keep iterating like this week to week with small improvements, I think it's just going to get better and better, basically. So we get another double cap stun with that Earth Grab and get a Hex out of it. So we get a big CC chain, and we can swap back to the Warlock with a Feral Charge. There's that Dark Harvest. We want to interrupt that and shut it down as soon as possible. Toss out some Lightning Bolts, jump after him. I'm jumping after him this time because he's super low and I've got Ascendance. So I really want to be connecting here with all of our cooldowns. And then with the Boomkin in on top of me, we're able to drop him. We're able to drop him really quick there and secure a win here in round number 4 or round number 3. What was that after this? Yeah, round number 4, able to secure a win. So honestly, I feel like they've done a good job reducing the ability bloat. You lost a little bit of cool stuff like not being able to Thunderstorm. Shaman is still decently bloated though on keybinds if you're worried about it, but I actually like that I don't have to play Frost Shock. I like the Storm Strike talent in the Shaman tree that actually just gives this snare, so I don't have to worry about having 2 snares. I can just use Earth Grab and Gust of Wind to get to the target, and use Lightning Bolt also to be able to get the snare up from ranged as opposed to using Frost Shock. Frost Shock is just really bad now is how it feels. Like the snare is not effective, it's easily removed. It has a cooldown if you want to spec for the root. It just DRs other roots. It just seems really ineffective at the moment, but this is honestly feeling like how I want Enhance to feel when I play it. And I played Enhance a lot in the first season of Dragonflight. It was like my second highest rated character, above 3,400 rating, and I really had fun with it. And since then, I didn't really like it that much. This is getting there. This is getting there. I'm really curious to try it after the buff. So you can see that triple cap totem start, get all the cooldowns, Sundering, Heroism, Ascendance, Trinket out of any CC. You got to get damage out in this window, especially in a caster lobby with dot classes. You're not really going to get punished for using your Trinket aggressively in this type of situation. So you can freely Trinket as a melee DPS against these dot-based classes, and you just start rampaging. Just swap off defensives, hit whatever's in the open, and just absolutely monster through. We're going to use our Astral Shift as well, so we can hold durable here through their cooldowns as well to be able to stand our ground and kind of just keep connecting DPS out. Line of sight a little bit around the corner here. Look for some lightning bolts and some crash lightnings as we're getting that buffed up just to get our maelstrom as high as possible. Lightning bolts come in. You do have to pay attention a lot though to the healing surge button to know if you can instant cast. There's no like indicator for it with the PvP talent, and with the whether it's a bug or not, I'm not sure. Just seems hard. Here, another root totem, another cap totem. I always feel super cool whenever you get that. It's just a nice 3-second stun on the whole team. We'll Sunder to buff up our Warlock's dots as well as our own lightning bolts here. And that spell crit damage modifier is really good. Actually, as Boomy Enhance, you know, it's with Star Surge and stuff, maybe there's some synergy there. Obviously, no Mortal Strike might mean it's not going to work in 3v3. But after these hybrid buffs, I'm also wondering if it's possible for enhancement to, you know, make a comeback in like a double DPS meta, possibly for 2v2. Unfortunately, they're buffing healer damage at the same time, which they do need for other brackets, and other content, but in the 2v2 bracket, it means that they're probably going to overwhelm any sort of like double DPS options. But I'm thinking if there was a double DPS, it would probably be like an enhancement shaman and something like a subtlety rogue at the moment, if nothing changes for subtlety rogue, because they both have decent sustain. They have really good burst, really good synergy with lockdown between them. So that was something that I was thinking about trying, or even just as a regular 3v3 comp. I think enhanced and subtlety rogue could be a pretty good option. Obviously, there are other classes at the moment that might be outshining enhanced, but who knows on Tuesday if those changes are going to really mix that up too much or not. Here we see a UA dispel, so that healer in the back took a big hit, and we're still just chopping up damage onto the boomkin, pushing towards him and just purging anytime he gets out of range, trying to take those renews off, take off some of the Moonkin aura stacks as well, which can be good to take some of the crit damage or crit possibilities away from them. And we're just trying to get uptime, basically. He jumps away. We can just lightning bolt him. We might switch to the Shadow Priest for a global here just because he's closer, and just do as much damage as possible as we're marching in towards the Boomkin to get uptime and really start owning. So we'll just start attacking the Shadow Priest until he's forced to retreat back away, and now you can see they're stacking up. And what happens if they stack up? We can get Earth Grab totems, and we can get cap stuns on them. So now the Boomkin's out to the right. The priests are getting stunned onto the left. I get a Hex with the coil. We can swap over to the Boomkin, Storm Strike spam, get some big lightning bolts, and we've got Ascendance and Heroism coming up in a second with a full Cyclone on the healer. So I'm feeling pretty good. We'll drop down that Siphene really quick just to make sure there's no opportunities, and just absolutely blast the Boomkin around the corner here, and then swap back to the Shadow Priest. Don't want to waste damage here. This is another advantage, is that during your cooldowns you become ranged. So unlike a lot of some of the other hard lock melee classes, you're like a pseudo ranged, pseudo melee, so you can actually get some decent uptime in these windows. We lock the Cyclone. We don't want to get crowd controlled, and we're going to Sunder to buff up the Warlock dots, buff up our lightning bolts, and really start destroying. Healing Stream while we're trying to get into range here for some damage reduction. We've got Astral Shift. I'm just going to pop to be able to stay aggressive and ultimately close out the game and feel pretty good. I mean, look at the damage meter. We're competing with some of these classes that are doing usually historically very high overall damage. We're able to win without Mortal Strike, albeit though Shuffle has faster dampening. I'm kind of thinking that they should implement faster dampening into 3v3 as well. I think it just helps with comp variety. I feel like you can't play like a comp without Mortal Strike because you have to wait so long for dampening to basically compensate for the lack of one. I do think that's possibly something that they should consider just to increase comp variety, especially because they lowered the Glad barrier down from 24 to 2300. I think a lot more people are going to want to try it, but they're going to be limited to like a select few comps that are actually capable of achieving that cutoff. Just because of the lack of comp variety that Solo Shuffle has, because dampening is faster. So especially if the gameplay is going to be slower, right? We're getting like upwards of 70% dampening here in Shuffle, so I can imagine 3v3 is going to be pretty slow. But dampening seems to be kind of the secret measure for them to be able to modify as far as making the gameplay better, and it's just something that I'm observing. So we're entering the final round here with the Warlock. It's the same name of the game. We're going to try and get those root totems and the cap totems. We pop Heroism on our way over. We're going to jump in on the Boomkin, get a big Sunder. This is going to blast tons of damage with Tempest over onto the Boomkin. We see the Druid in a stun into a Fear, so we just keep attacking the Boomkin. We got Resto Druid Trinket, so I'll swap off. I'm mostly swapping because I want to get Barkskin from the Resto Druid just to open up possible options in the future. And we're playing with a dot class, so if he hits a UA dispel right when I swap to him or something like that, he can absolutely disappear. Now Barkskin's down on the Boomkin, so we'll swap back on the Boomkin, interrupt his Cyclones. In this type of matchup, Cyclone is the most important thing. With a Holy Priest on your team, they can heal through AoE damage pretty effectively, so the Shadow Priest isn't a huge priority, whereas Cyclone on a target that's low can prevent recovery, which is stressful, and can also just stop all of the damage output from your teammates. So Cyclone is a bigger priority in this type of situation when there's caster damage that's dot based as opposed to burst based. Now if there was like a Frost Mage or something with Ray of Frost, you may want to prioritize that in those types of situations and try and track it to make sure, and just use Grounding Totem for the Cyclones. But Cyclone is obviously a big priority here. We're just keeping uptime, Static Cling and Lightning Bolts, having a good time, feeling decently powerful. I'm curious to see how our Tempest is going to hit with the 5% damage buff that they're doing, because right now Tempest is like a huge contributing factor to your overall damage. I also wonder if Totemic might see any sort of resurgence with the nerfs that they're doing, particularly to Ascendance with this build as Stormbringer, but I have a feeling this build will still be good. I can see the Siphene, so we're going to target over to that right away and drop it. We're going to pop Heroism and Sunder and swap back to the Boomkin. This is going to buff our Warlock. This is going to buff ourselves up. It's really important that you have Totem of Wrath. If you don't have that, like I didn't have that before, you lose so much. You feel significantly weaker without that, and it's because of the new talents for Sundering and the low cooldown that you're able to just buff the team. So Root Totem, Cap Totem, and able to just absolutely smash as a result. I tried to get a hex, but he was in bear form, so he pre-bears the capstone. We can't hex. It's fine. We'll just switch back and continue attacking the Shadow Priest. Swap back on the Boomkin. Toss out damage towards the Boomkin. We get rooted up. Honestly, I wanted to trinket this, but it ends up breaking to like a mushroom proc, I think. We jump over onto the Boomkin. Look at the pressure that we've got right now. Just both of them at 50% health, just charging in. We'll drop a Sundering to keep that momentum going for ourselves and our team, and just keep lightning bolting, keep chasing down the Boomkin, doing as much damage as we can. I see the Resto Druid out in the open, so I'm going to swap to him for a moment. He gets mind controlled, lightning back on the Boomkin. Swapping to Resto Druid is really important. Like just tunneling a life plume target can be very ineffective. You're just going to struggle to get momentum. So switching to them, they get in bear form, their hots fall off. You can switch back onto the DPS target and get momentum. I see my team in a fear, so I want to get them. We'll trinket and we'll trimmer. I see a Siphene down as well, so we got to zap that Siphene out of this game as soon as possible. And this Boomkin is running for his life. But guess what? I have Ascendance, and you are stunned up. And that is lights out. Lights out for the Boomy. Having a really good lobby here again. Like I said, Warrior Windwalker can be very difficult for you, but Warrior, it's kind of like getting compensated, but not really. And then Windwalker is kind of getting nerfed, so you may end up in a really good spot. And I at least had a lot of fun with it, right? I feel like that's something that a lot of people underrate as well, is like, how fun are you having on the specialization that you're playing? But I had a ton of fun with this one. I'll have the talent build linked in the description down below. Thank you guys very much for tuning into the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. It's got you excited for Enhancement Shaman, and I will see you in the next one.